Okay, great. Awesome. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. All right, awesome. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us on our call this afternoon. I shouldn't, sorry, I'm letting a few more people in as they are coming in. I really appreciate you all being on here this afternoon. For those of you who just came in, I do ask that you all put yourselves on mute. Then that way we can minimize any kind of background noise as we are going through the presentation. Okay, great. But yes, and so I just ask that you all stay on mute kind of throughout the presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. And we'll have time at the end, and I'll kind of pause throughout for everyone to kind of be able to ask questions. And we do say this is going to be kind of like an overview of the grant process for the upcoming 2024 grant cycle. If you have any general questions about the application or about the grant process, feel free to ask them here. If you have any specific program questions specific to your agency, we can kind of chat about that offline and kind of a one-on-one conversation. So I will go ahead and get started. And so who you all will be working with. I think I know the majority of you, but there are some of you that I don't know. So I just kind of wanted to introduce myself. My name is Katie Wise. I'm the Director of Community Impact here at United Way of Horry County. I am over the grant process, and so I will be the one primarily working with you all through this process, working with our vision councils through this process. And all that kind of good stuff. So if you need anything throughout the grant process at all, feel free to call me, email me, text me, anything like that, but I will be your primary point of contact throughout this process. So our 2024 grant focus is going to be the same as last year. It's going to be focusing on our bold community goals that we have established in our community game plan. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go over those. They are the same as they were last year. So in health, our bold goals under there are we want to decrease the number of suicide ideations and attempts and the number of drug-related overdose deaths. So very focused on mental and behavioral health under there. For education, we want to increase the number of children who meet developmental milestones and enter kindergarten ready. We want to increase access to equitable learning opportunities and high quality childcare for children and youth. For self-sufficiency, we want to increase the number of Horry County residents meeting self-sufficiency standards. And for basic needs, we envision a future where everyone has access to food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, basic materials, transportation, and a sense of security. And so a little bit about the grant this year. It's very similar to last year, whoever applied last year. We are, I will say, I'm sure you will be very happy. We are not asking for a logic model this year. And so that's going to be one of the things that's different. But you will be applying through the EC Impact database. That's our grant software system. If you are not currently in that system, or if you need help kind of getting access again to that system, feel free to just let me know, and then I will get you set up. We are asking that all applicant agencies must align with at least one bold community goal. This is kind of the similar way that you all did it last year. We're asking that you align with the one bold community goal that best aligns with the program that you're applying for. We definitely recognize that your program may align with several of the bold goals, but kind of looking at kind of like what's your primary focus, what's your primary kind of like program focus or operational focus. That's where we're asking you to align with the bold goal. If you have questions about that, or maybe where you may fit, we can kind of chat about that one-on-one to kind of see where your program may best fit. It is an annual grant. So from January 1 to December 31, 2024, and those payments are distributed monthly. We will fund operating, administrative, and/or program support. Because we know how hard it is to find those operating dollars. And so we will fund those operating, administrative, or program support costs, really whatever you need. But I will say we don't have like a minimum or maximum grant award, but we only fund up to 30% of the program expenses. So we're asked that you kind of just ask what you need for, just ask for, just kind of the essential things that you'll need for your organization for whatever you're applying for. You can see here where our applications are opening on May 22nd. And so not next Monday, but the following Monday. And by June 2nd, if you will remember from last year, there was like a kind of like a short kind of eligibility form that you all filled out in EC Impact. And then you will have access to then that full application after you fill that out. So we ask that you're just in the system kind of filling out that form by June 2nd. And then the applications close at midnight on June 30th. And so we have some, I just wanted to kind of make you all aware of some of the new financial requirements that we have this year. Kind of over the years since since I've been here at United Way, I've definitely heard some feedback from some of our smaller agencies about how hard it is to find, how hard it is to do like independent financial review, or really just even trying to find somebody to help do those financial documents for you. I know how hard it is for us at United Way to even find someone to conduct our audit. So we've heard the feedback. We kind of brought it back to our board, and we had a discussion about kind of how we want our financial requirements to look this year. And so, so for an agency who is applying with an overall organization budget of $500,000 or greater, that we still want to see an audit performed by an independent audit firm. Done with that, that is the same as it has been for us in the past. But the biggest difference is for this year, for any smaller agency, an agency with a total revenue of anything less than $500,000. Well, we had a board member who created what we're calling the financial systems questionnaire. It's very kind of easy to kind of go through. It's just asking about kind of your policies and procedures that you have in place at your organization for your fiscal accountability and all that good stuff. And so we're asking that any kind of smaller agency with a budget less than 500,000 complete that questionnaire, and then have your board chair and two other board members sign off on that to make sure that the information is accurate. So I will be sending that out to all of you. I'll kind of send all of this information out after this information call. So I know that collective impact, I know that you all have heard me say this. And also for those of you who are just joining us, we ask that you put yourselves on mute, please, just so we can minimize any background noise. Thank you guys so much. I know that you all have heard me, and I know that you've heard other agencies and other people talk about the collective impact framework for the last few years. And it's something that, it's something that you're probably hearing more and more every day. But, collective impact happens when, when a core group of people, when a core sector of the community comes together around a shared goal with a common set of strategies and metrics. And, collective impact and kind of shared metrics are definitely going to be the way that we'll be able to kind of tell our collective story to the community, kind of seeing where are we as a nonprofit sector, and kind of what, kind of no individual agendas, no duplication, everyone kind of bringing their strengths to the table. Sorry, I'm letting some other people in as they are joining. And so this year, where we're going to be really focused on is right here, this shared measurement for data and results. And I'm going to kind of talk about that here now. So this is going to be probably the biggest change on our application this year. We are implementing, sorry, I'm letting people in. At United Way of Horry County, we are implementing the results-based accountability, or RBA framework. And essentially what that framework is asking is, how much are we doing? How well are we doing it? And is anyone better off because of it? And so we had a training on this last week with some agencies that were interested in applying on our currently funded grantee agencies. It went really, really well. I'm still hearing a lot of really great positive feedback about that. And for those of you who weren't able to come, we do have like kind of like a shorter virtual training that I will send you all as well after after I'm kind of done with these information sessions, and they will be available on our website. And so that will be available soon. So kind of be on the lookout for that. And so this is going to be kind of the questions that we're asking this year when it comes to the outcome piece. And also kind of going back to those shared metrics I was just talking about in the collective impact framework. Something that will be different this year is agencies that are applying in will select from like a catalog or like an outcomes menu of shared performance measures and outcomes. Instead of creating your own outcomes this year, we have a list of some of the outcomes that we're looking for that contribute to the measurable objectives and our bold goals. So I want to kind of show you what that looks like. And so this is just an example. This is the example in our education bold goal. We do have kind of these outcomes menus for all 4 of our pillars. And so this is what it will look like. And so we have, you know, how much do we do? How well did we do it? And is anyone better off because of it? So we have kind of like those prescribed list of kind of performance measures under each of those questions. So we created these shared measurements with our vision councils and our task force members kind of like during our transition back when we were putting together our community game plan. I was also kind of looking at United Way Worldwide. All United Ways are locally run, but we do have kind of our national organization, United Way Worldwide. They have what's called the Global Results Framework. And that's also some shared measurements that several United Ways have adopted as well, kind of contributing to the bold goals that we're trying to tackle. I talked to several other United Ways about kind of what they're measuring and kind of the shared performance measures they have for similar goals. And we also showed our currently funded grantee agencies our outcome measurements at our RBA training last week to really get all of your feedback on, are these things that you can measure? Are these things on here that nobody in the county is going to be able to measure or ever be able to measure? You know, are there things we need to add on here and all that kind of stuff? And so I kind of want to talk to you all a little bit about that. And so our these shared measurements are all going to be kind of correlated with the measurable objectives that we have outlined in our community game plan. And so I will kind of go into those real quick. And so for health, our measurable objectives under there are, we want to improve outcomes of and access to behavioral health services for children, youth, and adults. And then our second objective is children, youth, and adults will utilize services that support the family and promote positive emotional, psychological, and social well-being. For education, our objectives under here are, we want to measure children start kindergarten developmentally on track. Parents, caregivers, and/or guardians will utilize services that support the family and the success of their children. Working families can afford childcare and can pursue positive enrichment opportunities for themselves and their children. And children and youth will gain essential knowledge and skills. Under self-sufficiency, our 3 measurable objectives under here are, we want to increase the number of adults and families who engage in employment training and financial education. We want to increase the number of financially sufficient adults and families. And young people ages 12 to 24 have access to, prepare for, and pursue career and financial development. And for basic needs, we have a few different measurable objectives under here. And so the first one is removing barriers. And this is really for kind of that necessary documentation. So IDs, birth certificates, social security cards, different stuff like that. We also have a food objective where hunger and malnutrition are alleviated and prevented. Healthcare, people will have access to healthcare services and supports that contribute to the overall improved health. Housing, one second, I'm letting somebody in. Housing, people have access to emergency housing services, rent, utility assistance, emergency shelter, basic materials, the basic hygiene, clothing, household goods, other supplies, and transportation. People have increased access to affordable transportation options and/or systems that provide reasonable, timely, and effective access to transportation. And so how it'll look on our grant this year. And I will say too, I'll kind of do like a separate little video on kind of how exactly it looks in EC Impact. And then that way you can kind of see, because I know it'll look different this year. And so I'll kind of do something separate for that. It's not yet ready in the system. I'm still working with EC Impact to set everything up. And so once that is ready, I will send it all to you all. But so for this year, we're asking that each agency is required to choose at least one measurable objective under the pillar that they're applying for to align with at least one measurable objective. And so if you are applying under the health goals, you would just choose at least one measurable objective listed on there. You can choose more than one if you are measuring more than one thing, but we are just asking you to choose one. And under those measurable objectives, you must choose at least one performance measure under each question. So one under each of those three boxes. How much do we do? How well do we do it? Is anyone better off because of it? And I also heard the feedback from our training last week for our basic needs folks who are applying under there. The people applying under basic needs measurable objectives, excluding the healthcare, because I know you all are a little bit different. You will not be required to measure a performance measure for is anyone better off, because I know it's really hard to do that with kind of the emergency organizations and the services that you all provide. And so you won't have to do anything under there. And so I'll kind of show you how that looks in the system, kind of on a more one-on-one basis. But also in addition to kind of the measures that we're asking for, you are welcome to create your own additional measures as well under each of the pillars, under each of the questions. So you are able to kind of add other things that you're doing in there as well. But please do note that this is the first year that we are implementing this shared performance measures, and they can be modified and adjusted over time. And we welcome feedback to fine tune the shared measures kind of as we're going through everything. And so right now, the measurements are on our website. If you go to unitedwayori.org, click on what we do, and then grants, and then nonprofit agencies, you'll be able to see all of the grants that we're offering, and then also our performance measures are on there. I will send them out kind of after our information session too, so everyone can really kind of take a look at them before that the grants open. And if you don't see yourself fitting anywhere in the shared measurements, but that you think that you do align to the BOLD community goal, let's schedule a call and we can talk more about it in depth kind of on a one-on-one basis. And if you do see yourself fitting but aren't sure like which measures to choose, I'm available for that as well. If you're like, Katie, you need to take off these measurements because they don't make any sense, no one's gonna be able to measure them, let's talk about it. We are definitely, these are not set in stone. These is just kind of the first year we're implementing this. And so we can kind of go from there, but that's kind of, this is going to be the biggest change, I think, on the application this year. And so I kind of just want to take a pause to see if anybody had any questions, any thoughts. We can kind of talk about everything at the end as well, or if I can keep going. Okay, I'll keep going. So all applications will be read and scored on a weighted evaluation rubric by our 4 vision councils: health, education, self-sufficiency, and basic needs. These volunteers are comprised of issue area experts. Some of them have even helped us put together a community game plan. Some have served on our allocations process forever. Some of them are some of our board members, our donors, just community members interested in getting involved. There will also be a finance vision council, where all they will review is the financial documentation turned in. So you all will be scored on your application and site visit and also your financial documentation. And then those will be combined for your overall score. And so that's kind of, we did it like that last year, and I think it worked out really, really well. It kind of really took out a lot of the bias in the process. And so some other tips, we ask that you write your application as if the reader has no idea who you are, who your organization is, the services you provide, and all that good stuff. You want to provide as much information as you can, so the readers truly understand what you're asking for and what you all do. Avoid any acronyms and jargon that the general public may not understand. And maintain, really kind of show that healthy mix of funding. So we're really kind of looking at, even though United Way may be, you may be asking for from us 30% of your program expenses, the Finance Vision Council is really going to be also looking for kind of that healthy mix, that diversity of the diversification of funding as well. And don't ask, do not request more than the essential resources that you need for your program or your organization. So what we'll be looking for, some of the biggest things are alignment with at least one bold community goal in the game plan, an alignment with at least one measurable objective, as I was just explaining, need identification, how you involve your volunteers, your fiscal strength, scale and scope of your program, capacity and infrastructure for long-term sustainability. These are all kind of things that we'll be looking for. And so here's the timeline for kind of how things are going to run. So as I said, the applications open May 22nd and close June 30th. And so that beginning of July, I will be assigning our Vision Council members the applications to review. I'll kind of do like an initial sweep, make sure everything's in there. All the documents are good to go, and then I will assign them to the Vision Councils. And then towards the end of July, beginning of August, the Vision Councils will meet to discuss the applications that were reviewed and scored. We'll kind of have our initial review meeting, kind of talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the application, kind of any questions that we have before our site visits. And so something that will be a little bit different this year is once we kind of identify what questions we want to ask you all at the site visit, we will send you those questions ahead of time. And then that way you all will kind of be more prepared to kind of be able to answer those, the more kind of pressing questions, if they have any pressing questions that the Vision Councils had. And if the Finance Vision Councils has any specific questions about your financials, we can schedule a virtual meeting to discuss that with you. That just kind of depends on the questions that they may have. And so then throughout August, the Vision Councils will conduct 1 hour in-person site visits of your agency. And at the end of the site visit, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions about your application, your agency, your program, all that good stuff. And then in September, that is when the Vision Councils will meet with our allocations chair on our board of directors to make those final funding recommendations. And then those funding recommendations will then be brought back to our board meeting in September for final approval. And then you all will be notified of funding in October for it to start in January. And so EC Impact is what we'll be using again for our online grant management system. And I just want to say too, I will be available throughout the entire application process to help really with anything that you may need. If it's specific application questions, if it's specific questions on the new performance measures, if it's just you want me to kind of look at things before you actually turn them in. If you have any, if you just kind of want to talk through some things, I am here for you all. I am here to kind of make this process easier for you all, and truly just trying to make sure that I can provide as much support as I can to you all kind of through this process, because I know we've kind of made some changes last year and this year. And so just really, I'm here for you all kind of whenever you need me. But I do want to show you all EC Impact and kind of what it looks like But before I show you the system, I kind of want to pause here again to see if anybody has any questions. No? Okay, quiet group today. Okay, so and so whenever you log into EC Impact, this is what your agency looks like. This is kind of your home. This is our test agency. And so they have been kind of assigned a lot of things because this is really our tester bug here. And so you'll see on here, whenever the applications open on May 22nd, you'll see the 2024 grant information and all that good stuff. And so you'll be able to just click here. And then it will take you to the application down here. And so here you will be able to kind of select your program. One thing I will say is if you are applying for kind of program level support, we will fund more than one program. So you can apply for more than one program. So say, for example, you are an education agency that may have an after school program, that may be also a summer program. We could fund both of those things, just depending on, they can be two separate applications if you want to apply for two separate programs, or if you just want to apply for one program. It's really up to you all. But if you wanted to create a new program, you can do that here. And then if you want to already just assign a program that you already have in the system, you can do that here. And so, and I'll have all the instructions and all that up here for you all. And then you'll be able to kind of click on each of the sections. We have the overall agency, and then we have more test program information down here. And another thing I want to point out too is over here on the side, if you've applied before through EC Impact and through our grant, all of your information is all over here. And so your application, your reports, all that kind of stuff. So you can go back and reference those whenever you would need to. And then I also want to point out over here, the Resource Center. This is where I'll have, our information about funding eligibility, our game plan, our shared performance measures, the scorecard on which you will be scored on, that's what the Vision Councils will be using. I will kind of take this off because we're not doing the logic model stuff this year. But this is where I'll have all of the RBA training, all of the materials from the training with Holly last week, the funding and allocations timeline, and all that kind of good stuff. So all of the documents that you need will be on here in this resource center. And if you want to, you can go to your agency profile. And if you've had any turnover, if you have new people that you want on here, you can kind of update any of your information. And so this is kind of the agency overall. You can add in your address, phone numbers, emails. You can go over here to contacts, and you can see kind of some people that are in that you would like to add as a contact of your program. You can go to your program profiles. You can do all that kind of stuff. So you can update all your information here in EC Impact. If you have any questions about EC Impact, or just anything at all, just feel free to reach out to me and I can help you. I know that if you haven't been in there for a while, I know sometimes I have to change your password kind of like on my end. It might just be easier to do that. And so just let me know if you have any issues with EC Impact. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so this meeting is being recorded. So I will send this back out to all of you once I kind of get it uploaded to YouTube and make it into a shareable link. I will send out this PowerPoint presentation. I will send out the shared performance measures for you all to kind of review before the applications open. And if anybody has any specific questions about their program, feel free to reach out to me individually. But yeah, and so does anybody have any questions about anything kind of about the overall process? Okay, cool. quiet group today. So we can go ahead and adjourn our meeting. And like I said, I'll send out all the information that you all will need very shortly. And so I appreciate you all joining us this afternoon. And I will be available for any questions you may have. So feel free to just reach out. All right. Thank you guys so much for everything.
Thanks, Katie.
Bye.
Bye.